Bueno.
Boom. It's working.
It's working. It
It's
always
working.
works out.
It always works out.
Or not. But yeah.
Meaning it
Cool.
does. Yes.
Yeah.
Ah,
Or does it not have to work out sometimes?
that's true. This is very true. Every past relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Every bad thing in our lives has brought us here talking to each other on the internet.
All
So
the
yeah.
answers.
All right. So what were we talking about?
I don't
Yeah.
know. Your beard,
Oh,
my
beard.
my intro, what I
Your
used
intro.
to do before I was a flow person.
Yeah. So you said you were moving in different planes, but more of a maximal strength, strict focus, and not as much spiraling. Could you go
Yeah,
more into detail about that?
sure. And it's funny how you connect the dots later, but when you're in it, you're not really quite connecting the dots. So it wasn't like this thing one day where I was like, I should do flow training. Like it didn't magically happen that way at all. Um, I was a strength trainer and I was really big into HIIT training and I was really big also into short bursts and pure just strength training. Um, and I was an athlete my whole life, but I really got focused in on golf and wanted to play golf, professionally. And so I played D1 golf for Baylor University. And when I was there at Baylor, we had strength and conditioning coaches who were amazing. But at that time, because this is a long time ago, like I'm turning 40 this year. So
No, you're not.
yeah, we're
How dare
Asian. We're
you
gonna look
lie on
like
my. Yeah. Well, you're gonna look like this for a while, and then
yeah,
one day you're gonna turn into a grandma
I know. But
overnight.
but by then I won't have a sex drive, so it's okay.
It's a well, we'll see. Medical technology.
That's true. That's true. All the new things. Um, so yeah, I was playing at Baylor and I had amazing strength and conditioning coaches, but back then there was like nothing like flow, nothing like, like there was kettlebells, but even kettlebells back then were more strict. It was hard style kettlebell unless you were what's it called? Competition style. Where there's a little bit more flow going on because they're doing like 1,000 reps of like a snatch. So you kind of had to make it more efficient. And it's so interesting how it took this long for the fitness community to kind of put those things together of like, oh, efficiency does require flow. And that you can generate actually more power and that athletic movement and athletic training is flow in itself. Watching a soccer player sprint down, cut and do their moves on the grass, it's just like that is flow in essence. So rewind, I was playing golf, did strength and conditioning with my amazing coaches at Baylor University, and we did so much that I actually got really tight. It actually messed up my game. And I was getting stronger, but not for the purpose of being an athlete. And I didn't really figure that out till later. And so I was a trainer for about 4 or 5 years and then doing stuff like hard style kettlebells and lifting and things like that. They were all fantastic. And then a little bit of mobility, a little bit of more of that functional training. And then I started playing around with things and I became that trainer that's using a cable machine and at the same time doing something with a kettlebell, And I was that guy, that girl. And I just realized I was getting bored and I was really seeking more patterns or more pathways of movement in my body. And so I started looking at things like yoga and Ido Portal movement and things like that. And one of my friends had just taken the animal flow course. And she was like, you should take this animal flow course. And I was like, animal flow? Like, what are we going to like roar? Like we're going to look like cats on the floor? And she's like, it's kind of like that. And I was like, no, that sounds stupid. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that. And then she was like, no, really, I think you're really going to like it. Here's the website. Check it out. So I look at it and I look at all the YouTube videos and I'm like, wow, this is like like I was still in that mindset that yoga doesn't make you strong. Like I was still in that mindset of like body weight training does it really make you stronger? Or do you have to be like a gymnast from the age 5 to really get it? So I kind of was like, okay, maybe. And there happened to be an animal flow workshop that was coming up in the next like 3 weeks. So I was like, screw it, I'll just go. And then that's kind of how it started. And I went,
That
fell
was
in
it.
love with it. And, you know, from there, I began to become more open-minded, not only with like animal flow and movement and body weight training, but also yoga, meditation, breath work, mobility. And then I found FRC and then all these other things and led me to people like you and other, you know, interesting people like Weck and, you know, all the other people that we play around with. And you realize that, you know, ultimate movement and ultimate strength really is a collaboration of all the things. You know, there's not one thing that's superior than the other. What's superior is if you can master a lot of them and combine them and utilize them for what it is that you need to do, whether you're a golfer or a strength trainer or a dancer or a wrestler, you know, like that's really what it is.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have a like a similar track in my history where I got into a kind of one rabbit hole and it led me to this path of all these other things. And then, you know, that's how I was introduced to what you're doing. And yeah, it's funny how that the algorithm kind of works and brings people together, like-minded people. But and it was hard for me going from conventional exercise because I was really good at exercising, but I felt like shit, like it didn't help me
Yes.
outside of the exercise.
Yeah.
And I do different exercise modalities. And I would feel better because I stopped the other things I was doing. And then I'd end up in the same place, getting good at this, specializing, and not feeling like I was a better human being. Um, and then recently, I think what you alluded to before about the spiraling, like in the dynamic movement, I was like actually moving my body through space, like on my feet, was something I was missing. And I think maybe I was against because of functional patternsy type of stuff. Like
Yeah.
I was I kind of wrote that off because the guy's a dick, but I'm not knocking anything he teaches. I don't know. I'd love to go to one of his courses and just learn. I love learning from
I'm the
everyone, you
same.
know?
I'm the same. There's definitely people that I've heard about in this industry where you're like, so and so's a dick, but they got really great shit to teach, you know, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm down to learn.
Yeah, that shouldn't the person, even though it's regrettable, shouldn't cloud what they're teaching.
Right.
So yeah, I'm kind of more open to all these things. And right now, I think we're both in a place where we're looking for something that when we do, we get better at it, but we also feel better, and it also makes us better all
Yeah.
around at
A
things we want to
hun-
do.
100%. You know, I don't know how many, and I'm sure you get this too. You'll get someone who, like, all they do is lift, and then they'll come to you and they'll go, oh, I know I need mobility. And because we've allowed ourselves to be so open-minded about learning new modalities now, you know, I'm kind of like, well, yes, mobility is part of it, but you know, there's also mindset. There's also like, what are you bringing to the table? Like, what's your nervous system? What's going on, you know, and your parasympathetic and your sympathetic, you know, before you even show up at the gym, you know, or someone who like all they do is yoga and breath work and mindfulness. And they're like, oh, I know I need strength. And I'm like, yeah, you do need strength, but like, are you really recruiting your muscles and you're providing movement and the spiraling and, you know, the from moving from one place to another locomotively? Are you properly engaging in that? So it is really interesting how there's so many little details and little pockets of fitness modalities out there. And like you said, it's a matter of can we find the thing that we need in those moments to fill in those gaps so we can continue on to whatever your practice is smoothly.
Yeah, I love how you said the mindset of what you're doing, because you could take someone who's doing, say, lifting or yoga, and have them do the same movement or exercise, but with a completely different intention, maybe in parasympathetic, maybe going for range of motion instead of brute strength, and change the experience
Right.
completely.
You could, yeah, you could do the exact same movement, and I do this a lot with clients. I don't know how you demonstrate this like on social media, but when I'm with clients or when I'm teaching a workshop or teaching a class, I'm very much like, okay, we're gonna do the exact same movements, guys, but now I want you to put in maximal strength. Then I'll be like, okay, we're gonna do the exact same movements, but now you're gonna keep your mouth closed and only breathe through your nose. Now we're gonna do the exact same movements, and I'll give them different tasks to think about while they're doing it, and it changes the experience completely.
And it seems like the animal flow is a great tool for that, because I see it could be used as conditioning, it could be used as exploring mobility, and you could kind of really hone in the same moves for different intentions. Is that
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like that's why it's my favorite modality. There's a lot of modalities out there that I love. Like I'm not one to poo-poo on anything. Like I remember for a minute there a lot of people were like making fun of Zumba, and I was like, what's wrong with Zumba? I think it's great. It's getting people to move
it's
their
hard
bodies,
too.
and it's hard. Yeah, and it's actually neurally
Mhm.
challenging you. It's challenging you on another level coordination wise. But yeah, animal flow is fantastic because of that. And it's also how it's taught. Like Mike Fitch, he's the creator of Animal Flow, one of my mentors. He's an amazing genius. Like he's more than a pretty face that could move well, for sure. Like
He is pretty though.
he's a pretty guy. But he knows so much science behind it. And he really developed it to be anatomical. And when he's teaching it, he's like, look, right now we're working the obliques, the exterior oblique sling, right? Pulling this to this, from this end to this end. Right now, we're using this because we want to utilize the flexion chain as much as possible. He'll really get into the science of why he designed the moves the way he did, because there's, we've seen in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like they also do side kick throughs. They call them kick throughs, and they do it a little bit differently. But when you understand the science, you understand why they do it that way versus why Animal Flow does it another way. And it's because, for instance, in a side kick through, they're going to be a lot more close chain because they're always on guard because they're actually fighting someone. So they're trying to prepare the body for that. In Animal Flow, we're trying to express the anatomical lines of the body, in different slings of the body. So it becomes a more balanced fitness regimen versus training like a specific fighter. So if I was training a fighter, I would show them the open sling so they can find some mobility out of it. Then we would also do it closed sling style. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so is that, do you guys go over that in the certifications and courses, how to program for the needs of the individual? Because it seems like you could do so much with that program because of all the positions and movements and slings you're accessing.
Right. Right. So in the actual course that they teach, I'm not a master coach, by the way. I just love it a lot, and Mike is one of my
You are a
mentors.
master.
But
You are a master coach, Venus.
but I mean, like, you know what I mean. But yes, I've attended like 15 different certs and mentorships with Animal Flow. So they don't teach you specifically who you're programming, but they do talk about the anatomical lines and slings like that. The other talking about fighters was kind of from my own personal experience of when I have trained fighters and when I have, or on the opposite spectrum, when I have trained dancers. So it's a matter of just like me figuring out what their needs are and being like, oh, okay, this is going to work better for them based on the feedback.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you have the coach's eye and the, skills, you could apply those principles to help anyone. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
And it was funny, what were we talking about? Zumba. I just have to bring this up. Yesterday, I went to this arcade, and there was Remember Dance Dance Revolution? Where you
Yes.
hop on the things and they light up?
Yeah.
Dude,
It's like Simon Says with your feet.
yeah, dude, I was playing that and I was like, whoa, this is the what all the movers are doing nowadays. We used to do this as kids and I forgot about it. But it was so much fun.
Yes.
Just the coordination and the
Yes.
footwork.
It's like
Yeah, so I
playing
had to bring that up.
Twister. No, I love that.
Twister. Remember Skip It?
Yeah. No, what was Skip It?
Skip It's where you not saying I was into this. I saw my sister play it. But there was like an ankle strap, and there was this little line with a ball, and you would have to put the other leg around it.
Yes. Yes. I was
We need to bring
terrible
those
at
back.
that. Let's do it. Okay, seriously. Seriously, like next week or the week after, figure out a time. Let's get together and let's put together all the games that we played as kids. And yeah.
We're gonna remember handball.
Why is handball like this? I thought it was handball. Why is this
Okay,
handball?
so do you guys call it wall ball?
Wall
It's the
ball.
one where it's a big rubber ball and you hit it and it has a bounce hit, and it can't go directly into the wall.
I didn't really play. Wait, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I think I do remember this. I remember getting nailed in the face a few times.
We're bringing it all back.
We're bringing it all back.
Foursquare, everything. We're gonna have I mean, that should be a thing.
That should be a thing. Like I had an idea one time where I was like, I wanted to open a gym that was like mostly games, and then create like like an obstacle course and all this other stuff. But I was like, I don't know where I could do that in LA, and that would be so expensive in LA. But
We need
maybe
to go in on it and do
let's
this.
do it. Let's do it.
Wow. Because I always think like, look at the progression of like physical education as kids. And I
Hmm.
live next to an elementary school. So I'll open the window and I'll just watch these kids play, not in a creepy manner at all.
I
But
was gonna
I just
say.
I love to just see the different ages and how they progress. Because, you know, the young ones like kindergarten, first grade, the bell rings, they run outside and they go meet up with their friends and they play. And then you kind of see as they get older and like they have to run the mile and do these laps and do their stretches, all the other things, like their mindset once again just changes. Like them
Yeah.
running to go see their friends and them running because they're told they have to go to the wall and back.
Right.
Like
It's the
everything
same
changes.
action, but different mindset.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, everything's different about it. And so I wondered if we just had like these kids in the wild and they got older, I wonder how that play would progress. You know, I wonder what they would be doing if the games would just get more intense, if it would just level up a notch. But I would love to do that with adults, you know, like, hey, I think this is where you left off. Let's go
Yeah.
back to this. And yeah,
Well,
as
like,
trainers, we have these tools to nitpick the specifics and do the accessory and mobility, blah, blah, blah.
right.
But yeah, that play, especially on the social level, the neural level, the emotional level, there's so much benefits that we're leaving on the table. So your idea of
100%.
the games, I think, is genius.
Well, I mean, it'd be a lot of fun. And then also, like, my favorite way to work out is when I work out with a friend or another trainer. And rarely are we like, okay, we're going to do 5 sets of this and this. Like, we do that sometimes, and I do that on my own. But when I'm usually working with someone, we're playing, we're like, oh, check this out. Oh, I just made up this new move. Let's get, and we get really creative, and it becomes more like a game, and it's really fun. And then we'll record ourselves, we'll watch it and be like, oh, that looks weird, let's change it. Or we'll look at it and be like, that's amazing. And it's like this camaraderie that you're also exploring. And last week I spent some time at a playground, and I was just going through the monkey bars and just playing around and not really doing anything specific, but just exploring as if I was a kid again. And it was so much fun. And then there's like these little like 5-year-olds that are also playing on the monkey bars. Mind you, like my hand is this big, their hands are like, this big, but they're swinging from monkey bar to monkey bar. And so that they're like using like, that's like a fat grip, you know, for those little kids' hands. And meanwhile, you know, how many adults have trouble not using a thick grip and just hanging? So it just shows us, you know, where we did leave off.
Yeah, and it's funny if you have someone hang like, hey, I just want you to hang for time, and maybe they drop after 30 seconds, but you have someone hang and give them a game to do or play around with them, they can double, triple their time without even knowing it. So I think there's something with having that like task-based, it's about the journey, not the quantifiable time. Uh,
Right.
Creates a whole different experience, and you actually create more volume you could do. There's more meaning and purpose behind it, which I think is another thing we're lacking in exercise today is why am I doing this?
Right.
Or I just need to suffer, and that's gonna get me these goals,
Right.
external goals.
Well, most people now, they're like you said, they want to suffer. So to them, that's their way of relieving stress when really they're putting more stress on their body. And then there, you know, other issues arise from that. Or, you know, they're wanting to they have aesthetic goals. And not that aesthetic goals are wrong. I just feel like aesthetic goals should be a side, like bonus thing. You know, and I'm really all about like, yeah, you know, but here's the thing, like, I know when I was younger, I definitely worked out for aesthetic goals. And the older I get, the more I'm like, aesthetics are great, not poo-pooing on that, but my goal really is to feel strong and to move well and to feel like I own my body and I own my movement. And I'm not going to be that person that bends over to like tie my shoe and pulls something. You know, and the aesthetic goals that come with it, that's just like an amazing bonus that I appreciate, you know?
Uh,
And I just wish more people thought that way. Like, what do you think it is? What's like that, or what was it maybe even for you that was that moment of like, oh, okay, maybe the message of being mindful of my movement or connecting to my movement or whatever verbiage works for you. Like what was that moment, or and what do you think more of the general population need to hear from trainers like us and any one of you guys that are listening right now?
yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, I still aesthetics is still a goal for me. Like it's a very big driver, but I have a different way of approaching it, I guess. So now I'm thinking I want to look good, but I want to look good for a long time. I want to look good in the future. And I know that ironically, when you shift your focus to feeling better, moving better, increasing your options, it actually gives you a bigger base to build aesthetics on, and especially sustainable base.
Yes.
So I think it's just having a kind of zooming out a little bit and saying, okay, that's a goal, but what is the most sustainable, efficient way, and all around way to get all these other qualities? So yeah, I think we could take that goal that people come in with when they're like, I just want a six pack or whatever, and then kind of manipulate it into a package where they get that, and we feel good about what we're giving them, and we're helping them beyond just that goal. But yeah, that
Right.
that goes into psychology. It's a tricky thing.
It is such a tricky thing. It's a thing that I've been kind of I'm really trying to wrap my head around like how to message that better. Because I think all goals are great, but I think ultimately, like when you feel so whole in your own body, like you really feel like you own your own body, all those things come with it together. You know, like if you make that the leader, the aesthetic goals will be there, the endurance goals, the longevity and the health. Um, I feel like that's what more people need of, and also like we're trainers, we're nerds about this stuff. Like I can
Mhm.
talk about this stuff all day. I could read books about it all day. And we do, right? We're, you know, I'm the type of person like one of my favorite things to do is go take a certification. Like, you know,
A
so,
lot of us
but
are like that, yeah.
we're nerds like that, but most people, most normal people, they're not like that. And I'm always kind of trying to figure out how do I get that messaging clearer for people.
Yeah, that's an uphill battle because I think that goes along with one of the best things we could do as far as through movement is build awareness and mindfulness and be in the present moment. And it's it might be simple. I mean, think about meditation. That is one of the hardest practices for people to do. It's one of the hardest habits. But you know, just sit there and you know, follow your breath or you know, watch your thoughts. That is almost impossible for a lot of people and very uncomfortable.
Hmm.
So to try to bring that into movement, yeah, you might be alienating someone, but I think something I'd play around with is, hey, while we do this, and I think you brought this up before, let's just do this in with nasal breathing, and I want your breath to dictate when you stop, maybe the range of motion, and that alone is such an experience for people who are all day they're just jacked up, dealing with stress at work, and then you have them regulate and control that. It could be overwhelming, maybe emotions come up. I'm sure you've experienced that with clients.
For sure.
We're getting very intimate with people when we get into that stuff.
100%. And it's like this release though. So I actually appreciate it whenever a client does go to that place. I'm like, oh, thank God you're letting it in or you're releasing it. It's such a big thing. And because okay, here's kind of switching directions, but staying on the same path. Like, how often do you get people going, how do you have motivation to do this every day? Right? People are always, they're like, oh, I'm not motivated or whatnot. And I don't think it's like the motivation so much of as much as it's really about like, how does it make you just feel like presently?
Yeah, I get that a lot about diet actually, the most.
Really?
I mean, that's hard. That one's, I think, putting something in your mouth and trying to tell someone else what to put in their mouth. That one's really tied with emotion, so that's harder for me. But me personally, yeah, that's hard to relate to someone else because I have addictive personality, and I feel like it's
Mm,
hard for me not to be in the gym. It might be healthy for me to take a little break and do something else, but I'm addicted to exercising. That makes me feel good. I have a very strong tie-in with that. But yeah, to create that trigger with someone else, once again, psychology, that's hard. I think they have to define their why, and then we have to build in what we're doing to that why, to that end goal, something deep, something meaningful that goes beyond, or maybe it all goes down to a sexual value
it could.
biologically.
It could.
But I think if they could find that, connect to it, then the consistency will be there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I'm always wondering. I'm always trying to figure that out. But how do you relate that to people you work with?
To motivation or to what?
Yeah, to getting in the gym, to making this part of the lifestyle.
Um, it's just a matter of like, do they care about themselves? Do they give a shit? You know, it's it's really that simple. I think people make it way more complicated than it needs to be. And I'm a lot like you. I'm addicted to moving. I'm addicted to working out. I'm less so the older I'm getting, for sure. Um, but for the longest time since childhood, it was my way of releasing stress or connecting to myself. And when I was a kid, I was actually pretty quiet and shy. I'm definitely not like that now, but I was very quiet, very shy when I was a little kid, and sports was one of the ways that I expressed myself through body language, and it was one of the only things that I felt like I was good at. And so it just became this thing that I kept working on because I was getting positive reinforcement from it. And I think a lot of times that's kind of like what we do as humans. Like whatever we get positive reinforcement in, we're like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But and I think that that's a big part of like when I'm training clients is I'm noticing where they're making gains, and it's not about it looking perfect. It's about like, do they care? And as long as I see that the client is really trying and they're making little, even if it's like a tiny little bit of progress, I'm just like, good job. That's amazing. You know, just showing up sometimes for them. For my online students, I get super excited when they post their videos because I know that takes a lot. That's not normal. You know, people like me and you, we post videos every day. It's like a normal thing. But I do remember the first few times I posted a video, I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. You know, it's like getting up on stage for the first time and speaking. It's a very scary thing. And so I get excited when I see people going beyond their comfort zone. And because that's where the growth happens, you know, and that's not a secret now. If you've had Instagram for more than a month, you've seen that motivational quote at least 1,000 times. And, you know, it's about being uncomfortable. And it's true. You know, you got uncomfortable and you did something because you knew it was good for you. So be proud of that. And to me, that's the silver lining.
Yeah, that's what makes you a great coach right there. I mean, I remember when I was younger as a trainer, it was the opposite. Like I was always finding technical faults, finding what was wrong, and trying to sound like an authority, like I have the answers, you need to always trying to perfect.
Right.
And then I made the switch where I was like, my goal is to have everyone hit a PR every single day in every single thing they do, ideally. So one thing they can improve upon, it's, you know, doesn't have to be just the weight. It could be, hey, you know, this looked better, this quality looked better. We did one more, you were more relaxed. It doesn't matter, but find the positives. And I think that gets people pumped up. That does kind of snowball into them looking forward to training and coming in and looking forward to the progress and where they've been when you highlight those type of things. So that's yeah, that's awesome that you're doing that with your clients.
It's fun stuff. Have you been flowing lately? Or are you looking for, I'm looking forward to doing OMU this June.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for the homework, and the whole community is gonna be animal flowing.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to jump on a call because I'm still like not sure because there's a lot of good movers in that community. So I kind of want to figure
They're
out
all
what kind of homework to be giving.
they're all like mediocre movers, you know. They seem, I think they could do hand balancing.
They just do one arm hand balancing, you know,
I think
tearing cards.
some middle splits too, but yeah, well,
Splits.
that's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
That's it. That's it. Juggling.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, what is it you hope that these people will get from experiencing the animal flow?
I hope that they experience kind of what happened to me, which was like, wow, here's another great tool for the toolbox, and to dive into it. And that's what I think is so genius about OMU. OMU is amazing because you guys bring in specialists every month to teach people their thing. And I need to get back into going into those modules. I've been super busy the last couple months, but I love it because I go on there and I see so much transference. So of what I do in other things, but also, but then you're getting like all those little gaps that you didn't get before, and how all movement is related. You know, there's not, I think a lot of times people like to classify themselves as I'm a strength coach, or, I work on flexibility and mobility, or I do this. And like we were saying earlier, it all is one melting pot. So, I mean, like when it comes to OMU, I'm excited to see people take what I do, and I want to learn as I coach people. I want to learn like what you guys are feeling, what you guys are seeing, how it relates to what you're already doing. I think that's the exciting part, is to, because I'm going to be in a world of other coaches. So I would love to see that transference, like what you guys do and what I do molded together.
I'm excited. I'm excited for that too, because a lot of people seem to be into the floor work movements, or the, like you said, the Ido Portal animal movements down and back. But to experience animal flow, I think what you do is coming from a very different mindset as those. I'd love to see how you teach it, but I know they're going to get something probably different than how they were approaching the other things. And I think that's going to fill in a lot of gaps. That's going to be a fresh perspective. And I think it will benefit a lot of people. That's why, we're excited. I'm excited to see you teach that. No pressure at
No
all.
pressure.
But,
No pressure. I'll just be calling you every day. Oh my God, what did I post the right thing? Should I have done something harder? Should I have done something easier? Like,
oh yeah.
have you done online programming before?
Yes.
Like, I mean,
yes.
other than OMU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like, how many times have you put it out there and then you're kind of like, did I make it too hard? Or they're like, oh, did I make it too easy? Like, what's that Goldilocks level?
Oh, dude. When I first did online programming, I did make it too hard. I was like, I'm gonna give this person everything, and it was a floodgate. And they were like, what the hell? Like, and I had to calm down, like one thing at a time, and take a more minimal strategy and a little more auto regulation on the individual. But I did it completely the wrong way at first. I went through all the stumbling, blocks and mistakes. And I think that's pretty common when people get into online training, is
Oh, for
they
sure.
want to download everything at once, when it's really about setting up them for success towards their goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing online training currently right now?
Yes. I have Strength and Flow, which is a program that takes people through breath work, some mobility, and then they go through doing drilling movements, and then they combine those movements into a flow, and then they cool down with breath work. And so it's a full body workout program where they're learning new flows every day. And it's like 18 different workouts. And it took me so long to film it because I was very stubborn, and I said, I want to make a program that I would want to do. And so it's a total follow along program. Like, there's no, like, I'm sweating my butt off as I'm teaching it.
Yeah.
And each video is like 35 to 40 minutes long. And yeah, it took me a while to make that. Actually, Mike Fitch mentored me through that process of making it.
Oh,
And
cool.
it was awesome. But he was like, Venus, you've got to, like, when I first came up with the program, he's looking at it and he's like, there's just too much in here. I was like, but they need to learn all these things. And he's like, yeah, but he gave me really good advice. He goes, look, Venus, he goes, of all the things just know that you'll only be able to teach about 30% of what you know, because there's only so much that other people can actually absorb. Mm-hmm. And I took that, and I still think about that every time I teach. I'm like, I have to remember that most people are going to absorb only about 30% at the most, and they even say, like, if you go to a certification course, you're really going to remember 10 to 20%, of what you learn, meaning, like, we'll learn the stuff on the surface, but the stuff underneath, that's going to take time. It's going to take mastery. It's going to take practice. And That's why I've been to probably over 15 different animal flow certifications or mentorships. Because, and every time I go, and even though we're learning a lot of the same moves, we're learning the minute details that just make it that like, oh, that's how I make it smoother. Oh, that's how I feel more powerful in that movement, or that's how I find more control. And then,
Yeah.
you know, but learning that was a huge deal. Learning that I was going overboard, and so that's also why I recently put out a beginner program to be able to go over the concepts that I think are really foundational when you're learning movement. So I was like, okay, I need to break this down even simpler.
And that's available on your website?
Yes, on venusfit.com.
Venusfit.com.
Venusfit.com. And also, if anyone listening here clicks the link in my bio, they'll see that. And then I also do like a free subscription to where every week or every other week I'm putting out an email with some really good information. And then there's always discount codes in those emails. And then this summer in June, I'm releasing a kettlebell and flow program with kettlebell exercises. Marcus Martinez, he's a master coach for kettlebells.
That looks cool. I saw a post where you were doing some kettlebell flow.
Yeah.
That looks really interesting. Looking forward to checking that out.
It's really exciting because we teach from a really foundational level, and every set is a progression of the last movement. So we're really trying to get people to flow more because they see it online and they're like, oh, this is cool, but that looks too hard. So we really broke it down step by step.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what we need more of. On your feet, moving.
On your feet,
Zumba.
moving. We're going to do Zumba, kettlebells, steel mace, and
Zumba.
lifting shopping carts.
Oh, shoot. Shopping cart flow.
Shopping cart flow. Yes.
Wait, we'll team up on that one.
That's it.
We need
that's
to
what
collab.
we're doing.
We'll just go in a junkyard and create a flow.
Oh my God, that actually would be really fun.
But that man, that resonated with me, what you said about all the certifications you're taking, because I remember one in particular where I can't remember really anything from it, but one line that that they said that was like gave me like the mind bomb. I was like, wow, that just shifted my perspective of how I looked at things. I was like, that alone was worth all the money, me being here, because I carried, planted a seed. I carried that along, and it affected how I view things and did things. And I think it's those little things. Maybe it was Carl Paoli. It was his workshop, the Freestyle Connection workshop. And he said, complexity increases inclusivity. And he was describing why the benefits of a kipping pull-up. And he was like, kipping pull-up, it's about getting from A to B however you can, from whatever line. There's not a strict line. And he's like, the complexity of that movement task allows more people to be able to accomplish it, because you're saying you can get there any way that you can. And it's about you individually and not doing it fitting a certain mold, because maybe you don't have the body that can do it that way yet, strict or whatever.
Right.
And that I was like, whoa, I wrote that down. I was like, that is it. Complexity. That was the thing I couldn't articulate about why I love using sandbags with people over a barbell, because it's not as technical. You could find whatever way is best for you to get it up, and it's kind of self-limiting. The rates of injury are down because it doesn't have to be in this very technical, specific line.
Yes.
And I took that thought and kind of had something solid to apply.
I love that.
I'll always remember that line, and I'll always credit Carl for saying that, but it was
Carl's
worth the
awesome.
price of admission. He's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, I haven't met him in person. We've talked like online and stuff, and I very much am a fan of his. He seems like a really good person. And I love that line. It's so true. And it just shows like because I always go back and forth between like saying to myself, like, what is proper form? But then also being like, in life, we don't move in proper form. I'm always giving the example when I bend over to tie my shoe, I don't rotate in a perfect 180. I don't hinge always properly, right? Give me that Jefferson curl in my spine. And, you know, I'm not in a perfect split squat. So in life, it is more of that complexity is inclusivity
Well,
because that's life, right?
well, Stuart McGill would say you're gonna blow your back out in 5 years doing that. I don't know. Neutral spine next time you tie your shoes, Venus.
Neutral spine. Only tie your shoes in neutral spine.
Ah,
If you're going to take anything away from this live, people, neutral spine when you tie your shoes.
obviously,
Obviously, right?
that's come on. we're not we're not gonna give people dangerous information out there.
That's right. And if any
But
of you guys are literal people, we're joking.
yeah, maybe we are.
That's
Yeah.
happened to me. I was on a live once when I said something jokingly, and I got a DM later, and I was like, I just wrote back like I was joking.
Oh, I was on a live with my buddy Tom, or Tom Mountjoy, Primal Movers, and we went on a 10-minute rant about the secret to movement, which is a calf program, doing calf raises, and we got messages after asking for this calf program. But we were being totally facetious the whole time. But
Of course.
who knows? Yeah, I'm not good at picking up sarcasm either, so.
Oh, you're not?
I could sympathize. No, I have like borderline Asperger's, so sometimes it's hard for me.
Oh, borderline Asperger's. I feel like I have a lot of people in my life that say they're like borderline Asperger's these days.
I think
Maybe.
it's common. It's a spectrum, right? Like everyone's somewhere on it. So
I wonder where I am on it now. Like now I want to take a test.
yeah, you're probably somewhere on there. You
Probably.
seem like a very well-adjusted human being, Venus.
I feel like I am. I'm definitely really quirky and weird in certain ways.
Like in
But
a good way. I remember the first time we talked. I think there was a dick joke within the first 20 seconds.
yeah.
And right after that, I was like, Venus is one of my people. I love her already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a lot of people don't know this. Oh, someone said sexy boobs. Yeah, they're huge.
That's
I think
like
he was talking to you, though. I think they were talking to you. I think a lot of people know this. I moved to LA actually to be a comedy writer before I was a fitness trainer. So someone just asked for you to show their boobs. Definitely not me.
this shirt is pretty much see-through. Like you could see the nipple right there.
Oh.
I don't know what I could pour water on it maybe next time.
Ooh.
But that will be on the Snapchat paid version.
Yes.
So you have to pay for that.
Actually, next time we hang out, wet t-shirt, shopping cart throwing contest
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that.
at a junkyard.
I'll bring you one of these see-through t-shirts. That's gonna go viral.
That's gonna go viral,
Big-
guys.
They went from boobs to big penis.
Oh man,
Thank-
Star Plus
thank you.
new. Thank you.
Star Plus new. I am
Star
going
Plus
to friend
new.
you after this. Star Plus new. Sign up for Venus's newsletter, and you're gonna get some discount codes.
That's right. Big discount codes.
Throbbing discount codes. Yeah. But so what did anything come of the comedy
Yeah.
dream? How was that?
Within my first year of moving here, me and my best friend were a writing team. We optioned a script to a big studio and had like a star attached, and But it was never made, which I don't know if some of you guys know this or not, but about only 10% of the scripts bought by studios actually get made. And then we pitched to a lot of other companies of our comedy. We did some rewrites. We created 2 web series. We filmed one and produced one as well. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then, but it's a rough business, and not enough to fully pay the bills. So I was waitressing and bartending, but even previous comedy writer Venus, I actually worked in sales and marketing. So I've had a lot of lives.
Sales and marketing, that helps a lot, I think, in this industry. That's something I actually would have, what is it? The Mormons or Jehovah Witnesses, where they have to knock on the doors and put in a certain amount of hours, I
Oh
believe,
yes.
talking to people. That's something I wish I would have done younger, because
You
it's
wish
mostly
you were a
rejection.
Jehovah's Witness?
Yes, yes. I wish I was a Jehovah's Witness. Some told me, who was it that told me that? They were saying they only hired Jehovah's Witnesses
Really?
for some sales, because they
Huh.
said that's the best sales training you could get anywhere,
Oh.
because the rate of rejection is so high, but
You just keep going.
you're going in trying to get your foot in the door, and it builds a lot of character. And
I
that was something I lacked, rejection, especially in the sales, talking to people. I had to kind of build that up later on, and I'm still building it up. I don't have
I feel
the
like
expertise yet.
I feel like everyone should know what it's like to work in at a restaurant, and I mean like
Hmm.
all of it. So I grew up. My parents owned a restaurant. I've been a hostess. I've been a busboy. I've waited tables and I've bartended, and you really get a true spectrum of humankind in a restaurant, because you have to really learn how to deal with people when they're angry or frustrated, or and memorization skills when you're taking people's orders. I mean, there's just so much in the service industry. I think everyone should experience being a waitress, bartender, or hostess or something in that sense, because also like your part of your salary is based on how you can service another human. So I think that's big. That taught me a ton. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You'd be a lot nicer to other servers as well. Because I worked at an Italian restaurant. Same thing. I worked like in the back, in the kitchen, at the register and serving. Uh, and I gotta say, one thing about the service industry, there's a lot of drugs in it,
Yes.
which
There are.
I found out the hard way. But yeah, there is. And I think maybe I think it's because you're dealing with people all day and you want to be in that element. And you have this like facade, this smile. That's hard. That could be soul draining, doing that for, people who do that 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Um, but it builds a very good social skill. You use that muscle of your brain. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I think I would say that was like my first really true intro to like memorization skills. And then fast forward into teaching animal flow and
Right,
and
animal
teaching.
flow.
Oh, that's why we're on this whole thing. Um, Segueing back into being a trainer, like teaching moves and being able to call out the limb and like which side, the right or left side, all that comes into play. I'm really going off track right now, but I just had this idea of like memorization and
Hmm.
like where it's not like you're memorizing a textbook. It's like you're having to call things out and memorize like on demand versus I read this thing in a book and I'm memorizing it and now I'm going to speak about it.
Hmm. And also it's a feeling, a coordination that you have to bring out. So it's an embodied memorization in a sense. And I also want to ask before I let you go, your current training right now, is it primarily animal flow? Would you say animal flow could be an accessory to someone's training? Could it be someone's main part of training? How do you personally use it?
Yes to all of that. Um, Animal flow is my primary way that I train myself, but um, obviously lately I've been doing a lot of kettlebells, especially with putting out a kettlebell program. And also last year I had bronchitis last March, and it was so intense that it shifted my ribs, and I was coughing so much that literally for about a couple of months I could only work out here and there. Um, and I talked about it a little bit like on my story and stuff, but I didn't like post about it on Instagram or social media that much. But it really affected me to the point where I lost a lot of strength. So this last few months, I've been feeling really strong because a lot of other things came from that. Like I started getting weak in other areas of my body. And now that I've gotten strong again, I'm healthy again. This year, it's really important for me to get strong. So I've been doing more weight training again and more lifting and heavier kettlebells to get myself back to where I was. Because I was extremely strong at one point.
You're
So
jacked. You are jacked.
jacked, so jacked. Yeah, bro. So yeah, animal flow is a huge way of what I do, a huge part of my training, but I also do a lot of kettlebells and I do some traditional lifting as well. But I would say I do traditional, like heavier lifting maybe once a week now. And that's a lot for me now because I had built up so many years of doing that, that when I got into flow and more mobility training, my body was like, you're good with that. You don't really need that right now. And it wasn't, getting bigger was never a goal for me. So I had put that in the back burner. But now that ever since last year when I got weaker, this year I'm very much about staying mobile, but getting stronger. And then once I hit a certain point, I'll probably go back to mainly flowing. So my workout regimen ebbs and flows a lot, but flow and yoga as well. I'm also a certified yoga teacher, but I mainly do more flow stuff. And I go to yoga probably 2 or 3 times a week now. I used to go 5 times a week. And after that, I would do lifting and more flow. But as I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, what's the most efficient thing to do now? And so for the last few weeks, I'll do flow and kettlebells one day. Next day, I'll do more mobility and breath work. Next day, I'll do heavy lifting and a little bit of flow. Next day, I'll just go to the playground and play or go for a hike. I like to switch it up a lot. That, and then I also do my own strength and flow program.
That sounds very well balanced. Yeah.
I try to be.
I think that's all you need. All right.
We got cut off.
Yeah.
What's your training regimen?
No, I was gonna say I'm glad that cut off right there because I was gonna say something super cheesy and stupid. That my training regimen is traps Fridays, buys and tries Thursdays. Stupid. But yeah. One more time, Venus, can you tell us the website where you have your services and products?
Absolutely. I am venusfit.com. If you want to contact me, DM me on Instagram. I look at all my DMs. Be patient. I'm not always the quickest at getting back, but I try to do it within 24, 48 hours. And yeah, I have Strength and Flow. It is a program, a full body workout program, 18 workouts. You're never going to get bored. You're going to learn all kinds of stuff from animal flow to yoga moves to traditional calisthenics. There's even pulling in it, and you're doing flows and breath work. If you are feeling uncomfortable, try my beginner program. I've laid it out a lot, very, very simply, going through the concepts of learning movement. And then get ready for the summer in June. I'm going to be launching Kettlebell and Flow with Marcus, who is Kettlebell Exercises on Instagram. It's going to be a lot of fun, and enjoy it.
Awesome. And we're also looking forward to you teaching a unit inside OMU.
Yes.
Everyone is really pumped about that.
I'm excited.
So yeah, we'll all see you soon. Thank you so much for your time, Venus.
Thank you. I appreciate it. DJ, hit me up. Not even kidding. We're going to do a junkyard flow.
Yeah, I mean, we have to now.
Yeah.
We put it out into the universe. We just have to manifest it.
Right? Next couple of weeks. I'm going to be on you.
All right. Have a good weekend.
All right. Bye, Hetty.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.